The nurses said that you weren't wanting to let the doctor check you to make sure you weren't hemorrhaging or anything.
They did an ultrasound.
The hemorrhaging, I hemorrhaged really bad when I had my wrist. The hemorrhaging is the bleeding, whether you're passing clots or not passing clots. It's really good to have you checked for that, because I know I was passing massive clots and they were about to start giving me blood. That's why they're wanting to check out, any damage, and check to make sure you're not bleeding inside internally. That's why they're wanting to make sure.
Well, that's okay, that's fine. I didn't know it was a big deal not to want the guy to do that.
No, I mean, if you don't want to, that's up to you, but that's why they're wanting to check, just to make sure.
Make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, you've got blood all over you and all over your fingernails, and I mean, that's a pretty intense thing.
Having it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It's scary. You want to make sure you're okay.
Let's see. So we're going to check you, huh? All right. Well, let me have them set you up then, where I can see what I'm doing.
All right. Yes.
She doesn't look like she had a baby.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Does not look like she had a baby there.
911, what's your emergency?
I need an ambulance because I started having my baby.
She's carrying the baby in her lap.
She doesn't look like she had a baby.
It doesn't?
No.
She's... No.
I don't know what everybody wants me to talk about.
Where'd this baby come from?
It's mine!
November 9th, 2022, Bowie County, Texas. A courtroom fell silent. The jury had spoken. Taylor Parker would die. She did not just kill a woman. She beat her. She stabbed her more than 100 times. Then she used a scalpel to cut that woman's unborn baby from her womb. In May 2026, the United States Supreme Court refused to hear her appeal. No explanation given. No second chance. The death chamber now waits. Reagan's sister stood in that courtroom and said it plainly. She has been such a burden in our life for so long that I haven't been able to think about my sister without thinking about her. The state trooper who pulled her over that day had no idea what he was looking at. What he found in that car is something no amount of training prepares you for. Welcome back, everyone. If you are new here, hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss where this story goes. Before this became a murder case, it was just a girl from a small Texas town trying to build a good life. Reagan Simmons-Hancock grew up in New Boston, Texas, a quiet community tucked near the Oklahoma and Arkansas borders. The kind of place where people know their neighbors, where front doors stay unlocked and strangers become friends quickly. Reagan was that kind of person. She was warm, she was open, she trusted people. Not because she was naive, but because that was simply who she was. The people who loved her described someone who made everyone around her feel welcome. By 21 years old, Reagan had already built something beautiful. She was married to Homer Hancock. She was raising a 3-year-old daughter at home, and in October 2020, she was weeks away from giving birth to her second child, a baby girl she had already named Braxlyn Sage Hancock. She let people into her life without hesitation. She had even allowed a woman she considered a close friend to photograph her engagement, to photograph her wedding. Those were some of the most important moments of her life, and she trusted that friend to be part of them. At the time of her death, Reagan was at home, heavily pregnant, caring for her toddler, living the ordinary, quiet rhythm of a young mother. She was 21 years old. Braxlyn had not yet taken a single breath outside the womb. Neither of them would get the chance they deserved. Taylor Renee Parker was born on December 8, 1992, in Titus County, Texas. On the surface, she seemed normal. She held office jobs. She worked at a staffing agency. She was friendly, sociable, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make people feel comfortable almost immediately. But underneath that, something else was building. Her brother, Zachary Morton, testified in court about their father, Mark Morton. He described a man who was constantly chasing women and drugs, a man who left his children on the back burner whenever his own desires took over. Zachary then told the court he watched Taylor repeat that same pattern. When she was focused on a new man, her children stopped being the priority. Everything became about her. Taylor had been married twice, first to Tommy Wakasey, then to Hunter Parker. She had at least one daughter and one son. During her divorce from Wakasey, she voluntarily gave up custody of her son. In 2014, she had gastric bypass surgery. That same year, she had a tubal ligation. In 2015, she had a full hysterectomy. Taylor Parker had no uterus. She had known that for years. She also worked at an obstetrician-gynecologist clinic. She understood pregnancy better than most people. Yet she told romantic partners she could have children. She claimed she was heir to the Blackburn syrup fortune. She invented oil and gas royalties from a family business that did not exist. Years before the murder, people around Taylor were already noticing the lies. Nobody took the next step. That silence would cost Reagan Simmons-Hancock everything. In 2019, Taylor Parker walked into a rodeo and met Wade Griffin. He was a roofer, a welder, a hog trapper, a straightforward man with no deep knowledge of pregnancy or reproductive medicine. He was exactly the kind of person Taylor Parker could manipulate. And she did. She pulled him into her fictional world immediately. She took him to view a property listed at $4.7 million. She signed a real estate contract under the name Taylor Parker Griffin. They were not married. They had no money. None of it was real. Then she told him she was pregnant. She had no uterus. She had known that since 2015. But Wade Griffin did not know that. So she built the lie piece by piece. She stuffed a pillow under her clothing to fake a growing belly. She produced fabricated ultrasound images. She bought baby clothes. She set up nursery items. She made it all look convincing. Then they held a gender reveal party. Friends attended. Family celebrated. A room full of people rejoicing over a baby that did not exist. Connie Griffin, Wade's mother, later testified in court that she had doubts. But she also said her son doesn't know about pregnancy. He believed every single word Taylor told him. During this same period, Taylor Parker was building a friendship with Reagan Simmons-Hancock, getting close, earning trust, positioning herself inside Reagan's life quietly and deliberately. The fake due date was approaching fast. The lie had an expiration date. By early October 2020, Taylor Parker had one thing left to do. She just needed a baby. Most capital murder cases have multiple people involved. A plan shared between two or more. Someone recruited, someone paid. This case had none of that. Taylor Parker acted entirely alone. No accomplices, no hired help, no back-and-forth messages plotting a crime. Just one woman, making a series of quiet, deliberate decisions over several months. Prosecutors argued that this made it worse, not better, because it meant every single step was chosen freely. Nobody pressured her. Nobody pushed her toward it. Court records show the planning began long before October 2020. She had worked inside an obstetrician-gynecologist clinic. That job gave her something most people do not have: a working knowledge of pregnancy, childbirth, and surgical procedure. Prosecutors presented this to the jury as evidence of premeditation. She did not stumble into this crime. She prepared for it. A scalpel does not appear at a crime scene by accident. She had also spent months building her friendship with Reagan, getting close, becoming trusted, timing everything to align with Reagan's due date. Every piece was placed carefully, long before that front door opened. The people around Taylor knew fragments of the truth. Zachary Morton had testified about her pattern of lies. Connie Griffin had private doubts about the pregnancy, but nobody connected those fragments into a complete picture. Nobody warned Reagan. She had worked inside a medical office. She knew exactly what she would need, and she made sure she had it before she ever knocked on Reagan's door. Before we get to what happened inside that house, if you are watching this channel for the first time, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications. This channel covers cases that demand to be told. You will not want to miss what comes next. October 9th, 2020, a Friday. Reagan Simmons-Hancock was at home in New Boston, Texas. She was days, possibly weeks from her due date. Her 3-year-old daughter was with her. It was an ordinary morning for a young mother waiting to welcome her second child. Then Taylor Parker knocked on the door. Reagan let her in. She had no reason not to. This was someone she trusted, someone who had photographed her wedding, someone she called a friend. That trust cost Reagan her life. What happened next, according to court records and forensic testimony, produced one of the most brutal crime scenes Bowie County had ever processed. Parker beat Reagan with a hammer. She stabbed her more than 100 times. She strangled her. Reagan Simmons-Hancock was left on the floor of her own home in a pool of blood. She was 21 years old. Her 3-year-old daughter was still inside that house. And Taylor Parker was not finished. Using a scalpel she had brought with her, Parker cut Braxlyn Sage Hancock from her mother's womb. Then she walked out of that house carrying the infant and drove north toward Oklahoma. She was speeding. She was driving erratically. She was crossing state lines with a newborn baby whose umbilical cord was still attached. A Texas state trooper pulled her over. He approached the vehicle and found Taylor Parker covered in dried blood. She was holding an infant. The umbilical cord was still attached to the baby's body. Parker looked at the trooper and told him she had just given birth on the side of the road. Both Parker and the baby were rushed to a hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma. Braxlyn Sage Hancock was pronounced dead. Medical staff then examined Taylor Parker. They found no physical signs of recent childbirth. No evidence of labor. No evidence of delivery. Nothing consistent with a woman who had just given birth. Then came the detail that ended any remaining doubt. Taylor Parker had no uterus. She had not had one since 2015. She was physically incapable of giving birth to any child. DNA testing was ordered immediately. The results came back without any ambiguity. Braxlyn Sage Hancock was not Taylor Parker's biological child. Investigators began questioning Parker. Under that questioning, she admitted she had been in a physical altercation with Reagan Simmons-Hancock. She admitted she had taken the baby from Reagan's body. She was placed under arrest. Back in New Boston, inside that house on an ordinary Friday morning, Reagan Simmons-Hancock's body was found exactly where Parker had left her. Her 3-year-old daughter was physically unharmed. She had been alone in that house with her mother's body. Homer Hancock lost his wife and his unborn daughter on the same Friday morning. He did not get to say goodbye to either of them. Reagan's sister, Emily Simmons, later described the years that followed as impossible to navigate. She told the court she could not think about Reagan without Taylor Parker's name forcing its way into the memory. A sister stolen twice, once by murder and again by the weight of the case that never left. Wade Griffin learned the truth all at once. The pregnancy was never real. The ultrasounds were fake. The gender reveal party, the property deal, the future they had supposedly been building together, none of it had ever existed. Connie Griffin, who had quietly carried her doubts during the relationship, now had to carry them into a courtroom as a witness. Taylor Parker was charged with abduction and murder. She did not make bond, but being locked inside the Bowie County Jail did not slow her down. Court records show she modified her jail clothing to be more revealing. She maintained romantic relationships with fellow inmates, and according to prosecutors, she wrote fabricated confession letters designed to frame a mentally fragile fellow inmate for Reagan's murder. Even locked in a jail cell, awaiting trial for capital murder, Taylor Parker was still running a con. What she tried to do next is almost unbelievable. In most murder cases, identifying the perpetrator takes time. Forensics, interviews, weeks of work. This case was different. Taylor Parker was caught the same day. She was covered in Reagan's blood. She was in possession of Reagan's infant. She had already confessed to a physical altercation and admitted to taking the baby from Reagan's body. Court records show investigators had their suspect before the sun went down on October 9, 2020. But the investigation still had one significant legal question to answer. Was Braxlyn Sage Hancock alive when she was removed from her mother's womb? This question mattered enormously. Defense attorneys later argued that if Braxlyn was not born alive, no kidnapping had legally taken place, and without kidnapping, the capital murder charge could not stand. Prosecutors pushed back hard. Medical testimony confirmed that Braxlyn arrived at the hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, with a heartbeat. Under Texas law, a fetus is recognized as an individual for certain criminal purposes. Prosecutors argued Braxlin qualified as a kidnapping victim. Court records also show investigators built a full picture of Parker's deception. Phone records, the fake real estate contract, testimony from gender reveal party attendees, and medical records documenting her surgeries in 2014 and 2015. The Bowie County grand jury returned its decision. Taylor Parker was indicted on charges of kidnapping and capital murder for the deaths of both Reagan Simmons-Hancock and Braxlin Sage-Hancock. There was no single dramatic turning point in this case. No surprise witness, no last-minute confession, no hidden piece of evidence that cracked everything open. Instead, 3 undeniable facts came together, and they left Taylor Parker nowhere to go. First, her medical records. Subpoenaed records confirmed that Parker had undergone a full hysterectomy in 2015. She had no uterus. The claim that she had given birth on the side of the road was a physical impossibility. Second, the DNA results. Testing confirmed without any doubt that Braxlin Sage-Hancock was not Taylor Parker's biological child. Third, her own words. She had already admitted to a physical altercation with Reagan and to taking the baby from Reagan's body. No defense could survive all 3. Forensic processing of the crime scene placed the scalpel and the hammer at the center of the physical evidence. Prosecutors then tied Parker's employment at an obstetrician-gynecologist clinic directly to her knowledge of how to perform a cesarean-style extraction, building their premeditation argument piece by piece. The fabricated confession letters Parker had written from jail, attempting to frame a fellow inmate, were discovered, documented, and handed to prosecutors. They added it to everything else. Taylor Parker pleaded not guilty. The case was set for trial in Bowie County, Texas. When the trial began in Bowie County, Texas, the community was already shaken to its core. Over the course of 25 days, 142 witnesses took the stand. The jury heard from medical experts, investigators, family members, and people who had known Taylor Parker long before October 9, 2020. The defense had one central argument. They told the jury that Braxlin Sage-Hancock had not been born alive. And if Braxlin was not alive when removed from Reagan's womb, then no kidnapping had legally occurred. Without kidnapping, they argued, the capital murder charge could not hold. They asked the jury for an acquittal on that count. The prosecution responded with medical testimony. A doctor confirmed that Braxlin arrived at the hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, with a heartbeat. She had been alive, however briefly, outside her mother's womb. On October 3, 2022, Taylor Parker was found guilty of capital murder. The sentencing phase that followed was just as extensive. The jury heard about Parker's years of deception, her behavior inside the Bowie County Jail, the fabricated letters she had written to frame a fellow inmate. Witness after witness built the same portrait, a woman who had never stopped manipulating, even after her arrest. Parker's legal team raised one more argument during sentencing. They claimed prosecutors had repeatedly referenced her weight in a way that was humiliating and prejudicial, designed to make the jury dismiss her humanity. That argument was preserved for appeal. It did not change the outcome. On November 9, 2022, the jury recommended death. The judge made it official. Reagan's sister, Emily Simmons, stood in that courtroom and spoke directly to Taylor Parker. I'm overwhelmed with happiness. It's over because she has been such a burden in our life for so long that I haven't been able to think about my sister without thinking about her. Reagan Simmons-Hancock was 21 years old. Emily made sure she was never reduced to a case number. After sentencing, Taylor Parker was transferred to the Patrick L. O'Daniel Unit in Gatesville, Texas. It is the state's primary facility for female death row inmates. As of mid-2026, she is one of fewer than 10 women on death row in the entire state of Texas. That number puts her in rare and grim company. Since the United States Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976, only 6 women have been executed in Texas. Parker's legal team did not give up after sentencing. A direct appeal to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals was automatic under state law. They raised 25 points of error, including the claim that prosecutors had introduced prejudicial evidence about her weight to manipulate the jury. The court was not persuaded. In 2025, Judge Lee Finley delivered the ruling in plain language. Finding no reversible error, we affirm appellant's conviction and sentence of death. That same year, in November 2025, her kidnapping conviction appeal was denied separately. In May 2026, the United States Supreme Court declined to hear her case. No explanation was given. Taylor Parker has no execution date as of this recording. She remains at O'Daniel, eligible for visitation, waiting. Homer Hancock lost his wife and his daughter on the same morning. Reagan's 3-year-old survived. She will grow up knowing what happened in that house. Taylor Parker wanted a baby to keep a man. Wade Griffin is gone from her life regardless. She sits in a cell waiting for a date with a needle. Braxlyn Sage Hancock never got a name announced to a celebrating room. She got a funeral instead. Reagan opened her door. That's all she did. Tell me in the comments, what moment in this case hit you hardest? Was it the gender reveal party? The trooper's traffic stop? The courtroom statement from Emily? I want to hear from you. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back next week. These stories don't get told enough. Reagan Simmons-Hancock deserves to be remembered.